Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this. How is your day? How was your week? Did you do anything fun this week? We went to a couple markets, took Bentley around. You see he's in his little Christmas sweater over there. One of Sean's colleagues a few years back at one of the clinics he worked at, they did a name drawing for Christmas. She drew his name and gave Bentley Christmas presents. So we're all for that. Yes. So he got the Christmas sweater he's wearing. He got some treats and some little plush toys, little plush squeaky toys for him. It was really cute. So yes. And then we went and walked around. There's this home store here. I think it's just in the state. It's local to the state because there's a couple other ones in other cities. But Bentley likes to walk around the home store. I mean, they have vintage Christmas stuff and furniture and everything. It's really nice. You can also special order things. But we did one lap around. And then we go out the door, and he wanted to do another lap around. So we did another lap around. And after that, we went to the bookstore. So he likes going. He likes going places. So that's what we did. And of course, seeing his day at work. Oh, God. Sean's been so busy at work. He was really busy this past weekend. It's crazy. Were you busy where you worked at? What was it like? So anyways, oh yeah, I'm sorry I forgot to say Happy Hanukkah last week for any of you, if any of you celebrate Hanukkah. I know it was like the second day of Hanukkah last week. And then, yes, so happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or any other holiday that you celebrate. I know there are a lot within like these 2 months. So yes. So yeah, please, tell us what holiday you celebrate, what traditions you have. Always fascinated by people's different traditions that they do with the different holidays they celebrate. It always fascinates me. I love the different culture diversities and everything. So yes, it's always nice. But yeah, I thought I'd do something a little different today. I was kind of hoping Sean would join us a little bit today, but he has some stuff he has to get done, so we'll let him slide this time. Anyways, Christmas in veterinary medicine. What is that like for you? Do you have any funny stories to go with that? Do you have any? I know Sean, because he's in emergency medicine, so there's a lot of Christmases that he works. I will say the one thing that really did annoy me, one place he worked, like when he worked overnight and he would request for Christmas off, he would have to work Christmas Eve overnight. But you have Christmas off. No, you don't have Christmas off if you're working Christmas Eve overnight. Like, I feel like for those of you who do scheduling for people for emergency medicine or anybody working overnight, if they need Christmas off, you need to give them both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, or Christmas Eve night and Christmas night off. Because here's the thing, they work overnight Christmas Eve, right? So not everybody has family that lives in town. Sometimes they have to drive out of town to go to do family things, even if it's just an hour. After working a full overnight shift, nobody wants to drive anywhere for an hour. They just want to go home and go to sleep. And then sometimes you sleep for a few hours. And then depending on what type of night you had, if you had a rough night, like a very busy night, you want to sleep all day. So at that point, you miss Christmas Day. So what was the point of having Christmas Day off? Unless their family does something in the evening. But even then, not everybody does anything, does things in the evening. Or even if they have to drive like an hour somewhere to get to family and then in the evening, like, no, like that's not how it works. Like, you need to fully think this through. Like, just because on paper it looks like they have Christmas and Christmas off, they don't. They really don't if they're working overnight Christmas Eve. Okay? So yes, that's my soapbox. Yes, because that would always frustrate me, because at the same time, like Sean, at the time he was, he would go where he was working. It was like 3.5 hours away from where we lived. So he did like a week on, week off, so he'd stay there for the week and then come home, which was fine. And it worked fine. But then like for Christmas, we always went to my grandmother's, which was like another, like, well, we lived like about 30 to 45 minutes from my parents, depending on traffic. And then from my parents, like my grandmother, like we would go visit them for Christmas. They were like another about hour 15, roughly, a little over an hour out. So that's, even with us in one day, like if we were leaving from, our house to my parents, that's almost a 2-hour drive for us, or trip for us. And so, if he's working out of town, like there's no way he can make it back in time, after working overnight overnight for Christmas Eve. So yes, for those of you making a schedule for people who need Christmas off, like either ask them or just don't schedule them for Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Like, just don't. That's just wrong. Because they don't get much. You want to enjoy your Christmas and enjoy the time you spend with family, because isn't that what it is anyways? Is enjoying the time for Christmas? Now, like, my uncle, he was a pediatrician, and my aunt, and he owned his, own practice and everything, and he had like 2 or 3 doctors that worked under him, or worked with him, under him, for him, however you want to say that. My aunt did the scheduling, and they rotated who would be on call for Christmas. Well, there was this one doctor who, they always did their family celebrations early, I think like the week before or 2 weeks before, but it was always early before, so it was never on Christmas. They always did their family celebrations early. So he never minded working Christmas, but instead of making him like be on call every Christmas, my aunt still rotated it, but told him like they could, he could change with, he can swap with somebody. And that's what he did. He always swapped with the people who was working on Christmas, and they would swap like the weekend that he needed off, or the time that he needed off for his Christmas, his family Christmas. So that worked out great, but you're not always going to have somebody like that, so different things, like sometimes, like, yes, sometimes it's what's best for the business, but also too, you got to do what's best for your employees and compromise somewhere in there. Okay? Talk, ask, because here's the thing. First of all, an employee they're going to say no. So you don't like give an inch, take a mile. So you don't take a mile if they're given an inch. But then once they see you're trying to compromise with them, then they will compromise with you. Like they will say, yes, I can do this, X, Y, Z, but don't take advantage of it. Okay? Yes, see? Bentley said, don't take advantage of it. Anyways, I got on a whole soapbox, but yes. And then I will say my one and only time Christmas I'm fat mad was always, if somebody works Thanksgiving, they should have Christmas off. If they work Christmas, they should have Thanksgiving off, typically, unless they want some other holidays off or whatever. And I was a CSR. I had worked Thanksgiving, and so I was supposed to have Christmas off. Well, then one of the other CSRs who had Thanksgiving off also wanted Christmas, but wanted me to work her Christmas. And I was like, no. And they got so upset with me because I set a boundary and I said no. And I was like, but that's not fair. Like, I know working at a 24-hour place, I'm going to have to work some holidays. I know that. I knew that when I started working there. And, so did my parents. But then you have to be fair about it. So I had worked Thanksgiving, so I should get Christmas off. Now, if I had Thanksgiving off, I would expect to work Christmas. that's just how it is, right? That's just fair. And so, yes, they got upset with me. But anyways, I still ended up having Christmas off, but they were upset with me. But that's not my problem because that's what was fair. So, yes. And I also say this too, set your boundaries, do what you need to do what's right, do what's fair. Granted, if you don't have any plans for Christmas because your family, you're not going to make it to your family or whatnot, and you want to cover somebody's shift because so they can be on, that's fine. Do that, but if you want to. But yeah. So I guess that's my Christmas in Batman. I remember, for some reason, there was one Christmas I surprised Sean Christmas Eve. I went down to Charleston with the girls. Interesting. So at that time, we had 2 Siberian Huskies and a short-haired Chihuahua. And I had surprised him and went down there. But I'm trying to figure out, I remember it a little bit, but I don't know how my mom let me go away with that because my mom liked me home for Christmas. So that means my mom really loved Sean. So, yes. And of course, we got this little one, was our best Christmas present ever. My cousin, so I know I told you guys the story before in previous videos where my cousin had gotten him for Christmas as a purse doggy. It was the first Christmas without my mom. And she, and him and I bonded. But we did, him and I bonded. And so then after that day, a couple of days later, my cousin was like, oh, so, our older dog's not having him. Can you take him? So we took him. So that was our Christmas. We always say that my mom sent him to us for Christmas. So, yes. Best Christmas present ever. So is there, let's see, what was one of your best Christmas presents ever? Any places that you've gone? So one Christmas, so I used to work on a cruise ship. So I was on a cruise ship one Christmas. That was had a lot of fun. That's actually where you see this Minnie and the Goofy come from, and there's a little stitch in them. They're Minnie stockings, so I got that when I was on the cruise ship for Christmas, some of the things. But I will say, growing up where it gets cold at Christmas, it was very different being on a tropical island for Christmas, and it was warm. If I remember correctly, we did Castaway Cay, which is Disney's own private island. Yes, I worked on Disney Cruise Line. It was Disney's own private island, and so we were there for the day. So yes, we for that day. So it was very different being somewhere warm for Christmas when you're used to being cold. I always wonder what it's like for people when who's warm and then go to the cold for Christmas. So I do want to go somewhere where there's is it Iceland that they have reindeer? There's somewhere like up north they have reindeer at Christmas. So I definitely want to go there for Christmas one time. So Sean and I have talked about it. New York City is definitely on our list. My mom always wanted to do Christmas at New York City. Never got a chance to, so I do want to do that. One, to kind of memory of her, but two, I do want to do New York City for Christmas. So there's a few places that Sean and I were talking about want to do for Christmas. Where do you want to go for Christmas? Or where have you been that you think we should go? And not necessarily just me and Sean, but for like everybody or anybody that's watching this, like ideas to go. There's this place, this Leavenworth, I think that's how you pronounce it, Washington. So it's like this little like German town, I think, in Washington State that's supposed to do like does it all out for Christmas, and it's really neat. But this year it's a little different because they got hit really bad with the flooding with the atmospheric river. Not as bad as Western North Carolina did with the hurricane, but they got hit bad with flooding there. And plus, it hasn't even started snowing over here yet. The mountains aren't even really open. So, because the snow isn't even like, it snowed the other day and it's not thick enough. So, yes. But yes, the weather's crazy. So, but any other interesting stories for you in Vet Med for Christmas? I love seeing the pictures of animals that come in dressed up for Christmas and everything. So, but yes, please share stories, share places, traditions, anything. So, that you may have with Christmas or holiday. And it doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be, if you celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. Yes. Or one of the other holidays that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head at the moment that are during this time. So, all right. Well, with that, please, please, please do not stress over the holidays. Do something for yourself. And remember, if somebody asks you what you want for Christmas, anything that we have talked about that you might want to try or do, or like a massage, and you find a place you want to do, find somewhere that does it where you want to go, or does like a sound bath session or something that you want to do or want to try, but just can't afford it. Just tell them that's what you want for Christmas, a gift card to there, and give them the specific location or whatever, and do that. There's nothing wrong with that, and you can try it. So definitely do that. And again, no stressing. It's not worth it. Do something for yourself. If you need a rest, tell them to get over it. If you need, so yes, rest. Take care of yourself. Do something for you. And then next week, we'll see you next week. All right. Until then, wait a minute. If you need to talk to someone, you have Lifeboat with NOMV, Not One More Vet. Remember, that's the peer-to-peer. And the first time you reach out is I think 48 hours. The second time you'll hear from someone within 24 hours. So that's more of a peer-to-peer if you need to talk to someone. And then if you need to talk to someone immediately, you can call or text 988. Or you can text home to 741-741. Please save those numbers anywhere that you would go if you would need them. Okay. So yes. Also, I'm leaving you off with one of my favorite poems. This is inspired by an old poem. You may not know that the world needs you, but it does. For no one else can smile your smile, say your piece, shine your light. You are unique, and you alone can fill your place. If you were not here to shine your light, what would happen to the pilgrims passing by your empty place in the darkness, without your light to help them on their way? You may not know the world needs you, but it does. All right. Remember, what you do matters, and the world is a better place with you in it. Dear Person's Company. Thank you for watching. Until next week. Happy holidays.